Right. I think in the spirit of time, we should just get going, and some other people may join us. Relatively low attendance. I think there were about 8 people booked onto this, weren't there, Lynn?
Yeah.
In total. So we've got 3 joined so far. So relatively low number of people. But let's take that as an opportunity. You've all got the ability to unmute. So if you've got something that you want to ask, just feel free to kind of come in as we're running through the presentation. I think sometimes when we've got lower numbers, we can just use it to hopefully be a bit more interactive, and we can kind of maybe have for it to be a bit more discussion based as we move forward. And there's some natural points where I'll look to bring people in. So if you want to come in, unmute, ask the question. Equally, feel free to use the question and answer and the question and answer function. That's absolutely fine, and I'll periodic check that and make sure we're answering any questions. But so when you're not talking, if you could just mute, and when you want to come in, unmute and ask the question. That's absolutely fine. So just to make formal introductions, my name's apologies. My name's Colin Bell. I'm going to be running this session today. Bit of background about me, background in running, growing, and developing technology-based businesses. So it's actually one of the previous owners of Winning Moves who are delivering this session today, and still work with them on a consultancy basis. I also do quite a bit of work around regional and national economic development, just looking at business support ecosystems and how can we put things in place that'll hopefully create an environment where businesses can scale faster and equally be more productive in the way they go about business, all around competitiveness really. So the topic of discussion today is all around developing digitally driven business models. So really what we'll be touching on there is how does digital technology allow businesses to implement different business models and to innovate and do things differently. So we're going to more specifically look at how digital technology drives business model innovation. We'll look at different types of business models. We'll understand how businesses have actually used digital technology. So we'll use some examples there. And then we'll explore, really how you can adopt that in your businesses as well. So that's really the flow that we'll go through today. But first, and this is where I want you to come in and answer the question. Just want to start by introducing a bit of a challenge. And that challenge is, can any of you name a business who has achieved significant scale within the past 10 years without a digitally driven business model? So without digital technology significantly underpinning their business model. Has anyone got any ideas? I say feel free to unmute and come in. Equally use the question and answer function. Any ideas? Bit head scratching going on. I'll take that there's no immediate examples that are coming to mind. And the reason I've asked the question is that I can't think of one. I've gone to lengths to actually research to try and identify a company that has achieved significant scale within the last 10 years without digital technology, and I just can't. All the examples that we look at or really come top to mind, digital technology has been at the heart of the business model and allowed that business to achieve scale. Here's some examples of Vice. That's a kind of new service for kind of targeted at millennials. £4 billion turnover along the last 10 years. We've got I can't pronounce it, but it's a Chinese-based electronics organization. 56 billion in 6 years, digitally driven business model. We've obviously got Airbnb. We've got Didi, which is car sharing, the Chinese car sharing organization. again, it's built on a digital platform. 34 billion has been achieved in a 4-year period. Absolutely incredible growth. Uber, 68 billion pounds worth of revenue generated in 7 years, and so on and so forth. All these examples that we hear about and are well publicized they are all driven, or they've all been built on digital platforms. Digital platforms are enabling this scalability and this growth. And the incredible thing, when you look at some of these figures, I mean, it almost doesn't seem worth putting some of these on there, like Deliveroo. They've only achieved a mere £1 billion. But actually, if you look at these, none of these businesses, not one of those businesses existed, or were even probably a thought in someone's head 10 years ago. And that's just incredible. And we're talking about tens of billions of pounds worth of growth that's been achieved in such a short space of time. But what's enabled that is actually looking at problems, looking at different solutions to those problems in a different way. But digital technology is underpinning the growth of all those organizations. And just thinking about that in a bit more depth, what they've done, they've innovated the business model. If you think about the core, if you look at the core product and service that most of those businesses are delivering, it's pretty standard. Uber, for instance, they're delivering a taxi service. It's a taxi ride, something that's been around from, for almost the past decade. But what they've done, they've attacked it in a different way. They've applied a different business model around that's been really enabled by digital technology and the internet. So looking at a definition of what we mean by business model innovation, it's the process in which an organization adjusts its business model. Often, and sometimes those adjustments are quite subtle, but those subtle changes unlock a real, almost that ability to scale really quickly. Often this innovation reflects a fundamental change in how a company delivers value to its customers, whether that's through the development of its revenue streams or distribution channels. So why business model innovation? Why should we look at our business models and try to underpin them with digital technology? The reason is that it delivers growth. It delivers growth, and it actually yields better results than product and service-based innovation does over a 10-year period. So actually the returns, not just in the short term, but over time, are greater in terms of business model innovation rather than some of the more traditional, I suppose, things that would associate innovation with, like product, service, and process innovation. So another reason why I think considering adjusting business models is really important is that the harsh reality is that a lot of businesses, they exist in that box in the top right hand left of that diagram. They exist in a position where supply's high, so there's lots of competition, and demand's low. There's more supply than there is demand in a market. Obviously, what that creates is an incredibly difficult and competitive environment. Lots of people kind of clambering over the same customers to obviously try and make them put their hand in the pocket and give them money as opposed to their competitors. And that, of course, creates a situation where it's almost a race to the bottom. We're increasingly in a position where we've got to add value. So what additional value can we give to our customers to persuade them to spend money with us rather than our competitors? And of course, another dimension is we're trying to add value whilst reducing price. And that's a really, really hard place to be, and not a nice place to be, ever depleting margins. So where do we want to be? Obviously, it's a much nicer place to be in the bottom right-hand box within this diagram, where there's high demand but low supply. And again, that's where business models and adjusting the business model can unlock those niches or those what academics would call blue oceans, where there's less competition, where you can actually stand out from the crowd because you're doing something differently. That's the process, drawing on the example of Uber, that's the process that they did something differently. They generated demand in a different way within the taxi sector, in a way that was more responsive, it was digitally enabled, and that almost created that blue, they put them in the blue box. Of course, what happens over time is that you get new entrants, people copy that, people catch up. So the trick is to always think about that next innovation, that next adjustment to a business model that's going to unlock a new area of growth and to try and keep us in that blue box. Bear with me while the slides catch up. Well, one of the joys of technology. Sorry, bear with me. Dear me. So I'll just try and jump it forward from these slides. It's probably because there's a bit of animation in there that they... Right, okay, here we go. So, and again, just thinking specifically around digitally driven business models and why digitally driven business models allow businesses to scale faster. It's really in relation to this. If we think about the normal pattern of growth within a business, it tends to be a situation where as revenue grows, costs grow in parallel. So you've got this type of situation. Of course, you know, although more revenue and more profits being made, the percentage of profits not actually increasing. So the profitability of the organisation isn't. So actually, one of the challenges with that is that if we hit hard times, or if there's a recession, or if there's another COVID pandemic, we can very quickly get into a position where revenue dips off. It's very hard to cut costs at a rate that's actually going to save the company. So actually, it's scalability. It's obviously a model that's eating up working capital, you know, very resource intensive in terms to scale. But that tends to be the normal organic growth model that most companies go from. But it's quite limiting, you know. Quite often, it only gets companies so far. The general pattern that we find with a digitally driven business model, however, is it doesn't like these slides. Sorry, I'll just go into that one. Sorry about that. I'll highlight the slide here. Is a situation like this. So actually, as revenue increases, there's a marginal impact on the cost base. Because we're using digital technology, because we're embedding our technology in our processes, our systems, in the way that are basically underpinning the business model. As revenue increases, there's that marginal impact, which means that actually, as we grow, our profitability grows in parallel. That scales up. It kind of widens as a gap. That's a really cash flow positive, cash generative business model that means that it can scale very quickly because it's unlocking that investment. And that investment that can go into a whole range of different areas. And we can see that with the classic examples of your Amazons and your Googles who are going into a whole range of different areas, largely because they're generating the kind of stockpiles of cash that enable them to do that. So this is the kind of thinking that we're trying to unlock. And apologies, it must be my internet connection, so I'm really sorry about this, which just seems to have totally slowed down. I can't even blame the kids for the use of Xboxes and things because they're back at school.
Are you using PowerPoint, Colin?
Yeah, it's cloud though.
Okay.
Let me just try it again. Sorry, one moment. Sorry about this, everyone. Right, so here we go. Hopefully that'll hold. So when we think about, so what is a business model? What are the components of a business model? So it tends to be what we look at. You've got a value proposition in the middle, and that's ultimately what our offer is to the customers. What makes us different? What makes us stand out from the competition? Why they're going to put their hands in their pockets and buy from us as opposed to the competition. We've then on the right hand side here got customers, markets, products. They're what I would probably term the external factors. So that's the external environment, and ultimately what we're trying to draw into our business. We've then got the internal operations that's built up of people, finances in terms of our cost base, but also our revenue, and then the underpinning operations, and then leadership as well. So actually, what's leading growth and helping us move forward. So typical questions that we would ask when working with organizations around the business model is vision. Firstly, is it big enough? Are we thinking in different ways? Are we almost thinking in quite conventional ways? What are our goals? Can we stretch ourselves? Sometimes setting stretching goals encourages us to do different things. You know, to hit them, we're going to have to challenge what we do and do different things within our business. In terms of our value proposition, why you? Why will a customer choose us? Is the value proposition strong enough? But are we different enough? You know, would people pay more for what we do? Are we giving them excuses or enhanced value that will drive more revenue and repeat revenue within our businesses? Who are we targeting? What customer experience we want to deliver? What's that relationship that we want with the customer? How are we getting to them in terms of channels to market? Are the markets that we're targeting growing? Do we have experience in them? Are they sectoral or geographic in nature? In terms of products, are we developing IP or mechanisms to actually lock customers in? Are we generating opportunities to try and I suppose achieve repeat revenue or reoccurring revenue from our customer base? And we'll move on to looking at examples of how businesses do this. But this is really just to emphasize the components of the business model. In terms of key people, you know, to deliver the value proposition, who are the key people that we need to drive the key processes? What critical skills and critical partners do we need? In terms of finances, what are our revenue streams? Can we have multiple revenue streams? What's our cash position? Is it positive or negative? But one of the interesting things in a lot of the business models we'll explore, and the dynamic that technology introduces, it quite often results in the business model being cash positive. Customers are paying businesses upfront rather than after the products or service has been delivered. That's obviously, you know, a great position to be in, and you know is a critical form of investment as well. Where we incurring our costs, can we reduce those costs? What are our core processes? What technology do we need to drive those processes in the customer journey? And also who are our critical suppliers and how are we interacting with them? Sorry, it's not playing. Apologies, I'm really sorry about this. I'll try this, and otherwise I'll just at least we've got a different view that I can talk through. So what I was just building up to there was an exercise that was really just going to provide an example of what a business model would look like, and essentially the challenge was going to be actually, could you guess who it is? The example was actually Disney and Disneyland Resorts. The reason I use Disneyland is that it's actually an organisation that we wouldn't ordinarily necessarily relate to as being digitally driven. But one of the things that Disneyland do exceptionally well now is that they use data to almost customize the user experience and how people actually use their parks in terms of their resorts. And the way they do that, they've got a band, and that band essentially is called a magic band. It basically tracks people, monitors people, where they go, the time they spend on things. It's measuring through other technology on the park and sensors, etc. It's measuring the length of queues, advising people based on their demographic. Actually, you know, there's a short queue for a ride that you would probably, you would probably enjoy, etc. So they're using data really to drive that customer experience and learn much more about their customers, which are then used to drive their marketing activities. Because again, Disney, they target almost anyone. It could be old people, school people in terms of school parties, young people, etc. So they're learning more about those customer bases that ultimately allow them to attract more people. So, you know, more and more we're seeing more and more companies adopting digital technology within their business models. I'm really sorry about the technology. It's obviously my internet connection. So in terms of so what I want to do now is just run through some different types of business models, and just look at those business models, who's adopted them, and just to just to really delve into them in a bit deeper and what they're all about. I think one thing I would like to highlight, however, is that most businesses who have achieved significant scale, they're not necessarily just adopting one of these models. They're probably adopting many of them. And, you know, again, so there's almost layers of innovation and business models that are kind of tiering within a lot of the organizations who have delivered significant scale. Just a point before I move on as well is, in terms of just going back to the business model and the business model canvas, which is a point I really wanted to make, and that was that in terms of the business model, you can almost attack it in different ways. So you could look at the value proposition first. So actually, can we use technology to amplify our value proposition? Would there be opportunities to use things like augmented reality to bring maybe a product to life? I'm sure you've all seen examples of where you can have bottles of wine and an app on your phone, and that wine bottle will come to life and it will start telling you stories and explain to you, you know, what more about the product and kind of, you know, just deliver a different experience. If you do that, it tends to change the dynamic across the other parts of the business model. Obviously, you'll have different requirements then in terms of the people and skills that you require. There'll be different processes that will be required. It'll probably unlock different customer segments. So you can attack it that way. You could equally think, well, actually, there's a growing market. We know we've got an aging population, so we want to develop a product and service that's for the over 70s, for instance. You can then draw that back into the value proposition. You know, think, well, actually, what can we deliver that would be that would draw on our core competencies, our skills, capabilities to deliver something to that marketplace. So you can attack it from different ways, but a change in one box leads to changes across the business model. So just wanted to emphasize that point, because it's important to some of the stuff that we'll be building up to. So just going to start with the first model, which is called the long tail. And the long tail essentially almost turns conventional wisdom on its head. A lot of businesses, they focus on identifying what the best sellers are and trying to sell more of them. The long tail model, however, basically accepts that it's going to sell low levels of lots and lots of different things. So it will still service and deliver the high demanded goods and services, but equally it's delivering almost just a long tail of niche products, products that are in lower demand, but it's just selling, so it's selling lots of different types of products in lower volumes. And that's really what makes that business unique. Come on, slides. So here's some classic examples of long tail model. The most obvious examples, Amazon. You can go onto Amazon and almost buy anything, you know, and anything you want, almost you can buy in Amazon. And basically what they're doing, they're making just thousands of, if not millions of different types of products available, but they're selling them at low volumes. They're probably quite high volumes in the Amazon model, but in their overall sales revenue is distributed across, you know, lots and lots of different product lines. Equally, we can see that model in things like Spotify. So Spotify is, I'm sure you're all aware, but is a music service that basically allows you to stream music over the internet. But again, you can go on Spotify and almost find any music, even the most obscure local bands, you know, that probably no one's ever heard of. You can tend to find it on Spotify. Again, they're generating their revenue over the distribution of lots and lots and lots of different products in the form of songs. And eBay as well is another classic example of that. Similar to Amazon, you can buy almost anything from eBay, and they're third parties providing that as well, quite often in terms of the distribution network. So we've got the long tail model. Again, that's enabled by digital platforms. It's digital platforms that are enabling Amazon, Spotify, eBay to deliver that service and deliver it at the scale that they are. But then got business models like multi-sided or marketplace. And so this tends to be matchmaking. You know, could be a dating site, you know, for instance, where there's a platform in the middle that's essentially holding together suppliers. So on one side, you've got people who have something to offer. They engage with the platform, and then you've got buyers on the other side. So suppliers and buyers. So you've got the demand side, the supply side, and the platform's the marketplace. It's the marketplace that's allowing buyers to source supply and suppliers to sell to buyers. Classic examples there are Uber. Actually, Uber's a great example of a marketplace app. It's basically on the supply side, it's got taxi drivers. I know it's changing slightly, the business model, but freelance taxi drivers has been the traditional model there. And it's matching them with people who need a taxi ride. And it's the platform that sits in between that's making that happen. Again, one of those rapidly growing companies that didn't exist even 7 years ago. Money Supermarket, very similar thing for insurance and financial, consumer-based financial products. Amazon, again, just emphasizing the point that quite often those businesses who have achieved significant scale, they're adopting different types of business models within their whole business model. So Amazon, we've already discussed that they adopt a long tail business model, but they're also a marketplace. They've got third party sellers who sell through the Amazon platform to customers who are looking for their products and services. And Airbnb, again, another very recent and rapidly growing business, who's doing the same for rooms. So if you've got a spare room, you can publicize it on the Airbnb platform, and then they will connect you with people who are looking for a room. Again, very, very scalable business models. And I'm sure you can see the higher the rate of demand, you do get that scenario where as revenue increases, the impact on the cost base is minimal. So we've got there. So we'll then move on to the next business model, and this business model is freemium. So freemium, essentially what that is where a platform or an organization are essentially giving something away for free. So they're given a free version of their product or service, but they're doing that to hopefully entice a proportion of those customers into a premium version that they will then pay for. So hence the phrase freemium. So we've got an example here of MailChimp. So MailChimp's obviously an online email platform that allows people to run email advertising campaigns or email campaigns. Essentially, it will allow you to deliver so many emails every month for free. But actually, if you want to deliver more, then you've got to start paying, or if you want different branding options and all those sort of things. So that's one of the things that MailChimp are doing. And then we've got some other examples here. So we've got FreshBooks, which is a cloud accounting software. So if you're a freelance plumber or builder, then chances are you could use FreshBooks for free. You know, you could get enough out of that base functionality to use it. However, as your business grows, you would then develop in sophistication and requirements, and then be required to actually pay more to purchase the more premium options. Hootsuite, again, that's a social media platform. It will allow you to post so many messages or manage so many accounts every month. But if you want to start doing more, again, you've got to start to pay. Same applies for SurveyMonkey. I'm a real fan of the freemium model for several reasons. The first is that actually they're generating a lot of users, but they're only looking to extract value from 5% of those users. So that premium offer, and it could be between 5 and 1%, they're really looking to extract value from, or get 5% of their users to actually pay for the premium product. And one of the things that I like about it is that they're really using the 95% to understand where the value lies in their product and service. It's almost like market testing. It's an ability to understand their customers, to interact with their customers, to generate new ideas and test new ideas through those free products, to develop something of value that people will ultimately pay for. So what they do, they put out what we call an MVP, a minimal viable product, that they'll offer for free, understand where their users are extracting the most value, and then they'll build their premium offer around that. So it's really a great way of putting customers right at the heart of innovation, at the heart of change, and understanding them so you can deliver more value. So sometimes, you know, offering something out for free, you know, can help get traction, gets the product out there, but ultimately helps you develop a product of higher value that users will pay for. But then got another model here, which is the loss leader, and you all know this one, classically termed the razor blade model. So Gillette, they'll sell one of their razors for relatively cheap price. So you'll get the actual application, the razor handle for relatively cheap price. They'll maybe give you 2 or 3 free blades, but of course what they want you to do is to keep buying their blades moving forward, and that's where they extract the value, because the blades are actually quite expensive. So that tends to be the loss leader program. The loss leader approach. We're seeing that in a lot of different ways at the moment. There's an example that I use at the moment is at the start of lockdown, I decided I needed a new printer with better capability. Went down to Curry's, bought a HP printer because it was really cheap and it had a load of features and functionality on it. You know, much better than the other options that were available. So bought that, and lo and behold, they presented me with a free subscription to what they call Instant Ink. So I got a 5-month free subscription to Instant Ink. So for 5 months, I haven't had to pay for ink. But basically what it does, the device, the printer's connected to the internet. It monitors my usage. It knows when I'm about to run out of ink, and it sends me some new ink. Now, I've just gone off the free version, and I've now started to pay a premium every month. So they've kind of locked me in, and now I'm buying genuine HP printer cartridges, where actually in the past I would probably have gone down to Tesco's and bought some of the non-genuine ink cartridges. So they, again, through that loss leader approach, and a bit of freemium, you know, kind of special offers, they've enticed me in and have now locked me into a premium offer that's delivering me convenience and peace of mind, because I know that I'll never run out of ink again. So just drawing on the principle of razor blades, I just want to play a video that's just around a case study of a business in the razor blade market who's done things a bit differently, but really used digital technology in multiple levels to enable them to do that. So I'll just play you this video.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis. And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, pop up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on. So when I'm coming to see you,
There you go, a bit tongue-in-cheek there, bit of a funny, provocative video, but what they've essentially done in terms of attracting customers, they've used viral marketing, they've used social media to great effect to get them to actually an international marketplace. Again, this business even 10 years ago was really, really small. It was a startup. Now they're trading all over the world, supplying razor blades. So, you know, it's available, for instance, in the UK and across Europe and across Asia, etc. So had absolutely incredible levels of growth, which actually started with just thinking about doing their marketing a bit differently. And at the time, that video is probably 6 or 7 years old now. At the time, it was very different, really stood out. They leveraged social media really well, but ultimately it was driving people to a digital platform where they were subscribing to a service that would deliver them razor blades for $1 a month. So it started in the US around $1 a month. It's progressed from there a lot, but that was the base value proposition. Really disruptive, really different, and a web-based business model. And obviously technologies underpinning the fulfillment as well. So within that business, like many businesses now, when someone places an order, everything's integrated in terms of the fulfillment technology, the delivery, you know, the how that links to delivery, and then the repeat purchase data. So the whole end-to-end customer journey is joined up and connected through digital technology. Totally seamless. In fact, the companies like the Dollar Shave Club, they don't think about themselves as the marketing department and the delivery department. They think about themselves as one department delivering a customer journey, and that tends to be the way they organize themselves, which again, we're seeing that more and more, that mentality coming through in a lot of the businesses we're working with. Just to show where they're developed. So their entry position was to bring people in on that loss leader position where, you know, it was a basic razor blade for $1 and they'd send you 3 of those every month. But where that's led to is actually the basic model is now £3 in the UK. But as you can see, they've got enhanced offers. So You want a more sophisticated a razor that's going to give you a closer shave, then that'll cost you £6 and then £8 and so on and so forth. Of course, the other thing they've done, they've now got a range of cosmetics that are playing into the male cosmetic market. Again, all delivered online and through a very, very scalable business model. And I think the one of the other things that's really stuck with the Dollar Shave Club is that if you go on YouTube, there's a whole range of different funny videos that they've done. So they've really kept up that differentiation in terms of the way they market and present themselves through largely social media. Sorry, these slides are driving me mad, and I'm sure they're driving you mad as well. Another business model, and again, this is really enabled by connected devices. So the example I gave around the Hewlett-Packard Instant Ink service. So that's a product that they've now combined with the service, which is what technology enables to happen. Is that pay by use. So essentially what you're doing based on how you use something, that triggers a payment, or the price you pay is based on that. A classic example of that is Rolls-Royce. So for the past 50 years, they introduced a model that essentially charges airlines based on the amount of hours of thrust, I suppose, that they get from a jet engine. So basically, depending on the amount of flight time, that's the price they pay. That's linked to a service offer. So actually, the airline doesn't own the engine. Rolls-Royce own the engine. They maintain the engine. They make sure that engine is going to be in the best possible condition, so it can deliver as many miles of thrust as possible. And basically that enables them to then charge more back to the airline. So it's thinking about how do we get a product and attach a service to that that's going to lock the client in, lock the customer in. Another great example of that is it's something called Metro Mile. Again, this is something that's becoming a lot more mainstream, but Metro Mile are really the pioneers of this business model. So Metro Mile are an insurance company. They offer car insurance, but basically how they differentiate themselves, they charge their customers based on the number of miles that the customer does. So so there's a price per mile. So depending on how many miles you do every month, that's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to get billed from Metro Mile. That'll be the price you pay. So if you do more miles, you pay more. If you do less miles, you pay less. Really basic model, but obviously something that's really popular for people who don't do a lot of miles. It means that hopefully they're paying what they would see as being a fairer premium. Something I'm sure that a lot of people would have really benefited from through the lockdown situation that we've just been through. So the way they do that, they actually have a Metro Mile tag, and that sits under the car and basically monitors how many miles are doing through a GPS GPS connection. What they've now done is they're now using 5G technology to actually take it to the next level. So the Metro Mile tag, the new generation of that, not only measures the how you drive the car, how many miles you're doing it, and uses that to adjust the insurance premium. What it now does, it actually monitors the performance of the car. So it's using predictive maintenance technology that you would normally find in a manufacturing process to monitor the car, to see where tolerances are maybe going out. You know, maybe the heat's too hot, or maybe there's a fan belt that's running too quickly, or the spark plugs aren't working as efficiently as they could be. Basically monitors that and predicts if the car's got a problem and if it needs to be seen by a mechanic. So they now offer a breakdown service and they offer a car repair service. So they're no longer, because of the technology and the business model and the way they think about their business, they're no longer just an insurance company. They're now an organization who monitors cars and based on the information that they've got, offers products and services that essentially can react to what that data is telling them. So all these possibilities are open to us. But I think a really innovative and interesting example of how insurance markets are changing based on connected devices. I couldn't deliver a presentation on business models without talking about franchises. In terms of business models, you know, the pioneer business model in terms of scalability, if we think about the most scalable business on the planet, it's McDonald's, and that's really been fueled by the franchise model. So, and the thing I really like about a franchise model is that, and I'm not suggesting everyone goes away and franchises their business, but if you think about your business and think, well, actually, if I was going to franchise this, what would it look like? It almost forces people to think, well, actually, how do we standardize our processes? How do we develop processes that are that standardized, that can actually be delivered by someone of a relatively low level of skill? You know, and that's really what sits behind the franchise model. Let's develop a business in a box that, you know, people with, I suppose, a certain level of capability can deliver and operate because it's that standardized. So I suppose that process starts to help us think about, in our business, what processes are valued most by our customers, what processes are perhaps repetitive and simple in nature, and could they be automated? Could we use technology to automate those particular processes? And even, you know, again, we don't necessarily associate technology to McDonald's, but it is a technology-enabled business. Technology underpins everything they do. And one development that we're seeing, not in McDonald's, but by the way, but in burger chains, is actually robots that flip burgers. So this is Flippy, the burger flipping robot. So we're even seeing robots being introduced into fast food restaurants to deliver processes that are repetitive and simple in nature. Now, think about your business. That could be the processing of invoices. It could be, you know, it could be a whole range of different things. And chances are you've probably got platforms or using technology already in your business that has the capability to automate some of those things. Could be cloud-based accounting software that you use, and quite often there's a lot more functionality or capability built within those that we're not utilizing. Just want to finish on artificial intelligence. So of course, when we talk about artificial intelligence, we have pictures of robots taking over the world and kind of stealing our jobs and all those sort of things. But it's not necessarily the case, but actually artificial intelligence is an area where there's been huge amounts of investment from big companies, but because they've invested in the R&D and developed the solutions, that's actually now made artificial intelligence really accessible to small companies, because they've done, let's think of it as them doing the hard yards on our behalf, and it's now a feature in many applications that we use on a daily basis. So what is artificial intelligence? It's machines or computers that mimic cognitive functions that we associate with the human mind, such as learning and problem solving. So basically, it's doing things that we normally associate with requiring a human to think about. You know, and that can be complex and it can be simple in its nature, but things that we associate with humans. In terms of technologies that would associate with artificial intelligence, we've got things like machine learning, natural language generation. So there's a whole range of, so think about chatbots and all those sort of things. They're using that technology to drive that service. Speech recognition. So you know, I'm sure you all use Alexas and etc. and Siris to ask questions to and to give instructions to. Again, that speech recognition technology, virtual agents, decision-making engines, robotics, etc. All I suppose examples of artificial intelligence. Now, I'm just going to play you another video, and this is a video of an organization called Betterment. And Betterment are essentially a wealth management organization, so a wealth management company, but they're using technology to service their clients in a different way. So they're using artificial intelligence to automate the investment process. So if you invest with them, you'll maybe give them, £10,000 and say, try and make that into 15. They will use artificial intelligence to essentially manage that investment process. So I'll just play you a video and it explains how they go about that.
Betterment, the smart modern way to invest. As explained by actual employees.
Hello.
With no financial jargon.
The old way of investing is like a paper map. You have to figure out how to get from A to B yourself, and you have no idea whether or not there's traffic on the way. Betterment's like a GPS.
Turn right.
We help you get to where you need to go. And we use technology so that you can just enjoy the ride.
Nice. How does it work?
You come to Betterment and you tell us what you're saving for. Retirement, vacation, home down payment.
Boats are cool.
Boats are cool. We take all this information and make recommendations about how much you should invest with us initially, how much you should save over time, the type of risk you should be taking. From there, the technology makes you personalized portfolios of stock and bond ETFs based on our...
Little help here?
Okay. It's like having a team of chefs who make delicious, well-balanced meals based on your preferences. Like, you only eat organic.
But why should I choose Betterment?
We're a fiduciary.
I beg your pardon?
Yeah, fiduciary is a strange word, but it's a simple concept. It means that we are bound to do what's right for our clients.
Fantastic. Okay, Nick, can you tell us more?
The technology at Betterment is designed to take all of the complicated processes that go into building the portfolio and streamline them so that you don't really have to worry about it.
Can you use an analogy?
Kind of like a pizza, right?
Not at all like a pizza.
No.
How much does it cost?
The annual fee of Betterment is 25 basis points. On an account with $100,000, that's like $20 per month, which is a fraction of the cost of what you would pay for traditional financial services. Plus, there's no hidden fees.
Swish. So you're saying Betterment is the smart, modern way to invest?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a lot easier.
Well done.
So there you go, that's Betterment. So essentially, the way it works, you've got an app on your phone. Again, like a lot of these businesses you operate through your smartphone. And it may be that actually at a point in time, you may be planning for retirement. So you maybe got a 20-year lead into that. So you'll base a level of risk and some goals but based around that. And the AI basically works out what the best portfolio of investments will be for you and manages that on an ongoing basis. Equally, what you could do in that same day, you maybe think, well, actually, I've changed my mind. We just decided we're going to put an extension on the house, so I need a return quicker. Again, you can adjust the level of risk that you're going to take in your investment goals. And again, the intelligent software will drive the portfolio, the investment portfolio that it's generating for you. So again, really intuitive, and the AI really puts the user in control of their investments, and sorry about that. Puts the user in the control of their investments, and from an operational point of view, removes the labor-intensive reliance on a fund manager. So actually, all that's been automated, which again is a pretty phenomenal business model. So there we go. And of course, what that's doing is it's really disrupting the traditional wealth management and financial advisory model. Just one other thing to mention about Betterment, another revenue stream that they generate. Their platform or their software, they actually license that to wealth management organizations. So again, that's another way of generating revenue. So they're getting two fees there. They'll be getting a slightly lower percentage based on the assets under management that come under that wealth management company, but they're also getting a license fee. So really interesting model there. So that really draws us to a close. Hopefully, what we've done is catalyse some ideas that hopefully provoke a bit of thought and introduce some new concepts. But really, just to close, just want to highlight a few questions. And first one is, please go away and think about how can you apply these business models to your business. How use the canvas, so the canvas that I described right at the start. Use that to get creative, to kind of plug and play the different business models. So if you applied a franchise model or a freemium model to your business, what would it look like? Again, go at it from different perspectives. So maybe start with the value proposition. So if we're going to enhance our value proposition, what new customer groups or markets would that introduce? What does that mean in terms of our products and services? Can we combine products and services together to create new possibilities? Actually, if we brought new capability into our organization, so we brought new people and competence, what would that mean in terms of our value proposition and in turn the customers? So again, play about with different models and come at them at different angles. Again, you could look at finance and revenue streams. If we could combine revenue streams, have a license-based model and a service-based model, and a model that's based on a percentage of wins or improvements or investments made, etc. What would that look like, and what would that mean to the value proposition and the customers and the markets, etc. And ultimately, what does that mean in terms of your leadership? So creative process, generate ideas, but hopefully it'll unlock some new possibilities. So I'm going to stop there and invite any questions. So we've got any questions? Anything? I mean, is there anything that we haven't covered? Is there's something that you wanted to get out of this webinar that we haven't covered, and you perhaps had a question about? Quite happy to consider that. Okay, so we've got a question. Oh, good. Thanks, Lloyd. So what I'll do, again, feel free to come in a question, but what I just wanted to emphasize was that in terms of taking this to the next level, thinking about these concepts within the context of your own business, there's a lot of support available to help that. Through the Humber Growth Hub and the Grow My SME service, there's a whole wealth of support available. There's more webinars, so again, just make sure that you're keeping an eye out for the webinars that are available. But also just wanted to highlight the program called Digital Catalyst. There's what Digital Catalyst, and again, this is available through the Grow My SME and Humber Growth Hub. What that's really focused on doing is helping businesses to develop a digital roadmap for their business and look at their business model. So to make the changes and to deliver the short, medium and longer term goals in your business, what does a digital roadmap look like? So what would you need to put in place over the short, medium and long term, and how, and almost mapping that out against the achievement of your goals and objectives. So that's a service that's available, and we've got a team of digital technology experts, but also people who understand business who could come into your business and really help map that out and develop the requirements. What would be the best technology for you and your business? Have you already got technologies that you're paying for that you could get more out of, and all those sort of things? So there's a wealth of experience there that would encourage you to take advantage of. And I will just, if it'll let me go to the last slide, and there's the details for the team.
I'm just going to launch the poll as well, Colin, before everybody goes.
Okay. So what Lynn's just launched now is a poll. So if you could just take a couple of moments just to let us know what you thought about the webinar. So there's just some questions there. So you should just be able to use the voting buttons just to highlight what you thought. It'd be really, really useful to us if you could just take a couple of moments to complete that poll. So no one's completed the poll yet. If you don't intend to, it's not mandatory. I suppose that draws us to a close. But again, you know, if there's any questions, please contact the team, and we would be delighted to learn more about your business and how we can help you. Thank you. Thanks for that. I think that's everyone completed the poll. That's really useful, and thanks very much. And yeah, we wish you all the best, and hopefully we get to